Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, where it's my brethren all around the world watching this video, I hope you're having a great day today as tuning in. Make sure you do yourself a damn favor and hit that subscribe button, and surely you will not be disappointed. Now, this will be a long and drawn out Triple G video because there are two topics in regards to Gennady Golovkin that I do want to touch on. So we'll start off with first of all, his fight coming up on June the 8th. It'll be his DAZN debut at the Madison Square Garden, where he'll be taking on the very unheralded and unknown Canadian contender, Steve Rolls. Now, my main man, Mr. Smurf 459. I don't know if he's gonna watch this video, but I know his actual name. We text each other, and he texted me. He said, "BT, what do you think about this fight with Steve Rolls?" And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know really. I had the same reaction you guys had when this fight was announced. I didn't know shit about Steve Rolls. He was unknown to me. I would even venture to say that Steve Rolls probably isn't even a household name in his own household. That's how unknown Steve Rolls is when it comes to the sport of boxing. As far as boxing fans, I should say, to the boxing public, you know. But I did some research on him. You know, his background. You know, watch the interviews, see his demeanor. Cause you gotta look at these things when it comes to fights. You gotta look at the demeanor, the mind motivation. You know, just these things. How they carry themselves. So I watched him, and you know he's very well spoken man. Seems very dedicated to boxing. Actually feel like he looks like a fighter that believes he can go on there and beat Golovkin. So if what I'm seeing is true, fair play to him. I wish him nothing but the best in getting an upset victory over one of boxing's top fighters. You know, I can definitely say off rip, you know, based on the little bit I've seen of him in interviews, that he is definitely a more confident and much more intelligent man than Dominic Wade. You know, I see people compare him to Dominic Wade. Dominic Wade was dumb. You know, if you go watch Dominic Wade was a guy that sounded like he needed to go read some books and, you know, had this irrational confidence to him in a lot of his interviews. As to where with Steve Rolls, you know, he's just very centered, confident guy. He's gonna go in there and give it the old college try. But let's have it right, man. He's definitely up against it. You know, when we talk about Steve Rolls, we're talking about a man who is not much younger than Golovkin. He's 35 years old himself. You know, he only has 19 professional fights. He's never fought in a 12-round fight, and has only fought in a 10-round fight once. So forget big fight experience. He's not even experienced in 12-round fight period. You know, so it's a massive step up in competition for him. Against Gennady Golovkin, and you know, he's viewed by many as a soft touch, as a cherry pick, and rightfully so, because he doesn't have those credentials to be looked at and compared to, you know, an elite middleweight like Golovkin. Some things I learned about Steve Rolls, you know, just reading articles and researching on him. You know, he obviously is from Canada, so he does a lot of sparring with guys out there. So a lot of guys he sparred with Adonis Stevenson, David Lemieux, I believe Andy Lee was another person he sparred with. So he's been in camp with some really fantastic names. You know, we know those guys are quality fighters. And, you know, his trainer will say things like, well, I've never seen Steve get dominated in sparring, and we're going to shock the world. And they're saying all the right things, but, you know, he's a massive underdog, and for very good reason. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I really took a liking to Steve. He seems like a nice, likable guy, but I mean, when you look at the fact that he's only fought one 12-round fight, or never fought a 12-round fight, and only has one 10-round fight, and then he's going to be going into the ring against Gennady Golovkin, one of boxing's best fighters, with that much experience, it's a big ask, and I think it's asking too much. Now, what I will say is this. Why is it that... I don't even know how this fight got sanctioned, honestly, because how the hell does a guy who really is not even a top guy from Canada, how is he getting a fight with Golovkin? How is that getting sanctioned? But then, like, just last year, or I don't know if it was last year, but, you know, in recent times, Jaime Munguia wanted to fight, I think it was Golovkin, and then they didn't sanction that because they said it was too much of a mismatch. But Steve Rolls, I mean, the guy's never been in a 12-round fight, and then all of a sudden his first 12-round fight is going to be at Madison Square Garden against the second best middleweight in the world. You know, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. And you know, if something goes wrong and this guy gets brutally hurt, you know, it's going to not look so good on the New York State Athletic Commission. But reading about Steve Rolls, you know, I've read that he stayed very dedicated to the sport of boxing. You know, that he's wanted to fight these top 20 guys for a long time. You know, he's a personal trainer in Canada, and he juggles his boxing career as well. And he's just been waiting for this opportunity, for that breakout fight. And it's a story of perseverance. It's a story of a guy who didn't give up, who continued grinding his way to the top, and you know, he's got a chance to really stake his claim. And you know, even if he loses this fight, all he has to do is give a good account of himself. But if Steve Rolls goes in there and fights 6 hard rounds of Golovkin and maybe wins a round or two, his value as a fighter is going to go up, and rest assured he will be brought in for some other notable fights as the road continues, and have a chance to develop himself there. So even if he doesn't win, it's still a win-win situation for him, because nobody knows who the hell he is. Nobody expects him to win. Everybody expects him to get steamrolled. And yeah, that's just what it is. So if he goes in there and gives a good account of himself, his value shoots through the roof. But I'll go on a limb and say this. He's, in my humble opinion, I think he's better than Dominic Wade, because when Golovkin fought Dominic Wade had went life and death with 60-fight veteran Sam Solomon on ESPN Friday Night Fights. People thought he got a gift in the fight, like right before that, I believe it was. So he was he really was a nothing fighter. But Steve Rolls, he has, for me at least, he has 2 notable names on his resume for me. He beat Desmond Nicholson, who many of you may remember fought Jesse Hart when Jesse Hart was rebuilding himself to the Gilberto Ramirez rematch. You know, he gave Jesse Hart a very tough fight. Steve beat him, I believe, was via split decision. And then he also fought Keandre Leatherwood, who was Andy Lee's last fight. You know, a solid guy, nothing special, but Steve beat him as well in his last fight. So he's been in there with some guys who have been in there with some guys, you know, and he's not a bum. I usually, you know, I don't like to call fighters bums, and I call guys who are much more famous than Steve Rolls bums because of their mentality. But judging by his mentality, he doesn't strike me as a bum. He strikes me as somebody who will come to win. It's just a matter of, does he have the mental fortitude and the skills to hang with Gennady Golovkin, and that'll all be answered on June the 8th. So we'll see what happens there with Steve Rolls, and I wish him the best, because he seems like a very likable guy. And I'm a sucker for a good upset. So, you know, Steve Rolls, best of luck to you in your fight. And then it's also worth noting too that Steve Rolls spent some time with Emmanuel Stewart in the Krong Gym. So obviously, if you're hanging around the Krong Gym, you know, you gotta be able to retain at least a little bit this much skill. So just off rip, from watching some tape, from seeing some highlights, he looks like he's a guy who's elusive, who has solid boxing fundamentals, but you know, you need a lot to really win at this level of boxing, and he's never been at this level of boxing, and he's never even been at the 12-round level of boxing. So it's a major ask, but he's gonna be up against it. I'm not even gonna lie to you. If Golovkin fights at his best, really turns up for this fight, this could be one of the biggest mismatches we've seen in boxing in quite some time. And that's kind of surprising to say to me, because I never thought there could be a bigger mismatch in a championship fight than what's his name? Anthony Crawler versus Lomachenko. But what am I even talking about? This is not even a championship fight, so scratch that. But yeah, this is a big mismatch. But best of luck to Steve Rolls. I think will come to win. I think he will do better than Dominic Wade. That's my early bold prediction, that Steve Rolls gives a better account of himself than Dominic Wade did, which really shouldn't be that hard. But best of luck to Steve. So that's that. And then from the moving on from the Steve Rolls fight, Gennady Golovkin did announce also that he hired a new trainer, and for me it was a massively surprising hire. He decided to hire Jonathan Banks, and to those of you who are casual fans, you may not be familiar with Jonathan Banks. Those of us who are very deep into the boxing, we know very well who Jonathan Banks is. Jonathan Banks is very well known for his time working with Vladimir Klitschko. He was a protege of the late great Emmanuel Stewart. And he was a fighter himself. You know, I believe he fought Antonio Tarver back in 2014 or 15 and got knocked out by him. But he was, he's really as a trainer, he's known for his exploits as a trainer, working with Vladimir Klitschko and also training Cecilia Brækhus, who is the best pound-for-pound female fighter in the world, been an undisputed champion for years now. So he's definitely a credible trainer. But he's interesting because, you know, you would expect Gennady Golovkin to go with a trainer who's more offensive minded or makes his fighters fight in a style where they come forward. But this is a guy that might try to teach Golovkin and refine that style a little bit, you know, a la Buddy McGirt with Kovalev. Refine that style a little bit to where you see him try to get Golovkin to use the ring more and maybe box from the outside a little more and not pressure fighters as much and use those boxing skills. Because let's have it right, man. Gennady Golovkin was a great amateur. I believe he was a silver or gold. I'm not sure. I can't remember what medal he won right now. I can't remember what medal he won right now, but he definitely won a medal in the Olympics. He was a great amateur, standout amateur, so he definitely knows how to box. And I think Jonathan Banks will try to refine his style and get him to box more, make some changes in his style, maybe not have him load up on so many shots. You know, there's a lot of things he could do with Gennady Golovkin. And I'm very interested to see how this works out because this is a complete 180 from Abel Sanchez. You know, like Jonathan Banks is not a guy who trains his fighters to come and be aggressive. He's definitely he's definitely someone who likes to use the ring and likes his fighters to move and, you know, show off those Detroit Kronk skills. So I'm very, you know, they got a guy in there in Steve Rolls for Golovkin who you would deem as a safe opponent, a guy who's never been at this level, a guy who's not even a household name in his own household. And if they want to try some new stuff, they'll think they have the reins to do that against a guy like Steve Rolls, because they can't go in there and try to refine a style against a guy like Canelo because they'll get iced. But against a guy like Steve Rolls, they'll try to do it. Whether it works or not, we will definitely see. But it's an interesting hire. I also read somewhere that Golovkin will still be training in Big Bear, and Big Bear Lake is not a big city, so it's got to be kind of weird. You know, him and Abel can run into each other at any time, so it's got to be kind of weird. It's kind of like seeing like an ex-girlfriend around town. But yeah, man, Gennady Golovkin, his career is an interesting place because he's hired a new trainer. Now he's fighting in one of the biggest, I'm gonna say on paper at least, one of the biggest mismatches I've seen in boxing in quite some time. I mean, you're fighting a guy in Steve Rolls who is really he has all the makings of a no-hoper, the quintessential no-hoper, a guy who's never been at this level, a guy who's probably not even the best from his own country in the weight class, and it's tough. It's a tough sell. And for the Golovkin detractors, for the Golovkin haters, like this is enough ammunition. Like this is plenty of ammunition. That's all the ammunition they need. They're fighting a guy named Steve Rolls. Meanwhile, Canelo, his last fight, he just fought Daniel Jacobs. And even the fight before that, which I thought was a complete mismatch when Rocky Fielding, even that was more, even Rocky Fielding is a more credible opponent than Steve Rolls. So it says a lot about the opposition he's picking. And we'll see what happens, man. Truthfully speaking, I think this is all just a ploy by DAZN to try to get them to build up to a third Canelo fight, which I think would be very stupid for Golovkin at this point in his career because he's going to get knocked out whenever they fight a third time. No doubt about it. Canelo's just gotten to a certain point in his career where, basically he's at the prime of his career. Golovkin is not, and it's funny too because Golovkin's been hating on Canelo as well. Like he said that his fight with Jacobs was boring and I did it to impress him, and that basically it was this big sparring session. But I thought it was masterful boxing, and Golovkin's just a hater, man. And honestly, his career, I'll be honest with you, his career to me has become uninteresting because his whole career is literally just based on Canelo. Like, he's not really looking to do anything outside of fighting Canelo again. And that sucks because I like to see, really, the fight I love to see for Golovkin is to see him go in there and fight a guy like Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade, get a belt, and then position you. Now, that's how he should try to earn a Canelo fight, is by fighting a guy like Demetrius Andrade, a guy that's not anything, an opponent that's not anything like most of the guys you fight, because let's have it right. The guys Golovkin was fighting when he was coming up, none of them were movers. They weren't long, rangy, dangerous, southpaw boxer punchers. This guy Andrade is that, and I think he has a style to beat Golovkin. I always thought that was a fight with that. I always thought that was a fight where he would beat Golovkin, and he never took it, and even now he's not going to take it. And I thought Andrade would have been more deserving of this opportunity than Steve Rolls, but they really wanted to go the safe route, so they really picked the bottom of the barrel in Steve Rolls, and it just is what it is, man. You gotta call a spade a spade. It is a cherry pick. It is a soft touch. But him hitting on Canelo is not gonna get him any further. I really think the only way he should get a Canelo fight is if he can get past Demetrius Andrade, because really, truthfully speaking, Canelo beat him. Well, Canelo got the decision in the second fight. He's looked so good right now. I think he might have a legitimate claim to the pound-for-pound throne. And Golovkin really, the way I see him, is a guy who's just obsessed with Canelo. He needs to go fight some other top guys at 160, reprove himself, revalidate himself, get a belt, and then it's an even bigger fight because then you're talking about undisputed. So that's just my take right now on all things GGG right now. We touched on everything. We touched on Steve Rolls. We touched on Jonathan Banks. We touched on GGG hating on Canelo. You know, his career is just very uninteresting to me, and I'm hoping that he fights a top guy in the division not named Canelo and revalidates himself, because I still think he's a quality fighter. I still think he has plenty left in the tank, but just not very bothered or interested with his career at the moment. So there you have it. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. Take the time to subscribe, like I say in every single one of these videos. You can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.